So I'll just come in for 2 minutes and then I'll move on. Is it visible now? Fully visible?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. So first of all, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining into this seminar called C.A.U.S.E. So when we were actually, putting across this seminar format, we had a specific reason why we wanted to put this as C.A.U.S.E. And if you today you will realize after the end of the program, each one of you probably has got a viewpoint in one of these items. The whole reason what Oorjja have been trying to do over the last 5 years have been, when it comes to diversity and inclusion, hitherto the approach used to be about looking at the disability factor, how should we look at from that kind of an angle. At Oorjja, what we're looking at is to put across to the corporate world, to the outside environment business, saying that there's an untapped potential, there's an untapped talent pool which is there. Can we look at from a slightly different perspective? All being equal. I mean, I was actually putting up this example yesterday with someone. People in the software industry know this one. We have people with BTech computer science earlier. And now we look at anybody with a graduation, we are okay to hire. Of course, the training requirement could slightly vary, but I'm sure they also come up the level. Similarly, can we look at this talent potential? They'll have a little more larger gestation period for the training potential, etc. But they can actually prove much better than the rest of the people for the simple reason, and that's my closing remark for this introduction. If I'm a right-hander, and this is my famous example I keep using, if I'm a right-hander, my right hand is very strong. If I'm a hearing impaired person, my eyes are very sharp. So can I identify a potential in me which can be utilized with my vision, like UI or coding or pattern identification? Believe me, these guys are going to be much better than the rest of the mainstream. And that's something which we have seen over the last 5 years' time. And I'm sure we will see that. And if all of us can combine and spread across as brand ambassadors, there's an age-old problem of disability. None of us could solve it over the so many years. 80% of the people remain not sufficiently engaged. If all of us can combine together, we can actually create a different benchmark and then get them up the level. That's my thing. Thank you so much for joining in. Over to you, Vivek, and I'm sure you will do a very great job better than me. Thank you so much. I'll move from the stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay. And at the outset, let me wish Oorjja. I understand from Jay that today is the 5th anniversary at the actual birthday, though he has lined up a mega celebration.
He's right. 30th is what we're doing the celebration. Actually, we said this is the actual date. 27th October 2017 is when we entered this premises with with a lot of hopes. So happy that all of us are here on the exact same day, same almost similar time. Thank you so much. Over to you, Vivek. Last time.
Congratulations.
So Jay, thank you. One for starting Oorjja and for creating a platform wherein the kind of good work that has been done over the past 5 years. His actions speak far louder than his words. And now we have a 1 hour slot, and it's fantastic that such a diverse panel has been set up. We have people who have varied experiences, but nevertheless we are all bound together by a common cause, and it's great that the session itself has been titled as cause. So I think over the next 1 year, Jay has given me a very strict timeline here. So we start at 3, we close at 4 no matter what. So the conversation will continue. This is only the first of hopefully many more larger discussions which we can have in the days, months, years ahead. This will only set the tone for a longer term relationship between all of us and Oorjja as we move forward. So the main reason why we are here is to actually talk about the costs as Jay has coined it. So let us start with I'll try and keep my own views to the bare minimum, probably try and sum up towards the close, because we have a really interesting set of speakers here who have different experiences in terms of age, in terms of your academic background, in terms of the place you are in and the causes which you support. Some of you are already associated with a space which is similar to what Oorjja is in. Some of you may probably not be involved in this space, but nevertheless you are doing good work probably in some other sphere of activity, and your learning and your experience would be of great support for Oorjja as Oorjja moves forward into this next the post 5-year phase of Oorjja. So I'll start with Mr. Arun here. He is very senior, seasoned entrepreneur and wide international exposure. So what do you see, sir, as to the path? You are very clearly, what Oorjja has been doing, and where would you want to see this particular cost moving forward?
Definitely. I must also say that thank you for giving preference to age before beauty. Yeah. So I'll start off with a little story about when UST started getting into the differently able people program. It was a great experience. We did not start like a large scale like Oorjja, but we decided to hire a small team of about 10 people, differently able people, and integrate them into teams. So that time, one thing that we realized that it's not only for the differently able people, it's more importantly, the cause is for the broader community. Even the teams benefited quite a bit by having differently able people in the team. So that day, I still remember about 7 years ago, when we did that, the team voluntarily on their own, the team decided to train themselves in sign language. And the team of 10 people and their manager all got trained in sign language on their own. And they started interacting with the people. That is a great experience. I just want to start off with that story. And there are 5 topics that are given, right? I could have points against all the 5 topics for the cause, right? But having said that, I would still say that the most important cause is it's actually a cause for the humanity, doing a great service to the humanity. There is the people who are differently able are no less than ourselves. So we, like Jay said, we might have something better, some of the elements better, and some things worse. So I would just state that the cause is really the cause for the humanity.
Excellent. I think that's a wonderful way to open up the discussion. So what I'll do is one online, one offline. So I think that's the, and age, beauty, not to be the criterion here. So I'll anyway go with the senior most person on this side of the room as well. Mr. M.D. Varghese, I have personally known for more than 20 years in his role in shipyard. The great work which they have done in CSR is certainly a model which is very, very inspiring, and having supported many causes which are in this space. He is also trustee of Adarsh, which is one of the leading NGOs here in Kerala. So let us hear MDV's version and his story connected to this cause.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vinod, for the nice words you spoke about me. And also thank you, Mr. Jay and his team, Oorjja, for this wonderful opportunity of at least meeting you, the big guys of the industry in the respective sector. And definitely it is worth spending so much of time for the cause of our own brethren, that is the differently able category of citizens. Am I audible now? Okay, now, thank you. So today I have come here in the capacity as a trustee and the joint secretary of Adarsh Charitable Trust, which is an NGO, 25 years old NGO functioning out of Mamman, engaged in various integrated development work of programs of our differently able category of citizens of children. We call them all of them children, not even citizens, because in our particular institutions, they are all children even now. Though they are all about 30, about 35, we have to call them children because of the reasons they are in now. So we have that particular beautiful facility wherein we take care of around 550 students. We call them students and trainees, both under classroom model as well as home-based rehabilitation model. So out of these 550 people, we have around 250 home-based model rehabilitation, wherein our team, specialized team, trained and experienced team of therapists and all other categories, visit their individual houses situated in and around the Narayanan district here. Around 17 Gram Panchayats are being covered by our team of 5 team consisting of 3 members each. They make almost a 3 days visit home in a week in all these particular houses. The home-based rehabilitation is required because of the challenges that we are facing in this particular sector. See, we have moderate or minimal, moderate, and maybe extreme kind of disabilities. And by the way, at others, we are taking care of more of intellectually disabled category of people more than visually impaired or hearing impaired people. So we are not into that segment. Our segment is more into the intellectually disabled and autistic category of people, also disability factor kids. So among these categories, we have this mild, moderate, and extreme category of people. And of course, mild category can be brought to the school setup. Even the moderate also can be brought to the school system. But extreme category, we may not be able to bring it. But we do attempt some of the mild category of people at home because of the social reasons attached. Because either their parents are engaged, they must be the only breadwinner for the particular family, and the possibility of getting a suitable transport for them to the school. So all those factors, delimiting factors are all there for them. So we go to them. Similarly, for the moderate people as well. For the extreme people, of course, they are bedridden, almost bedridden, they cannot move. So we go there and take care of them, do some therapy and other things, and they are happy. So they are kept happy throughout, and they in fact look forward to our staff or our specialist.
What is the biggest challenge you see there, sir? I'm just trying to bring it around to the topic that we are here. The single biggest challenge, because Adarsh is a very large organization with about supporting almost 500, I understand, kids with various kids and young adults with various. What is the single biggest challenge you would see, which needs to be addressed in that space?
That is mainly now we have to speak about the social aspect of the situation, because catch them young. Everywhere we have this catch them young. So the issue is that all those people, different able people, must be having their disability right from the birth. And we, because of the social stigma or whatever the special parents are in fact suffering, they don't like to see their kids as a different labeled category of people. So even if they notice some sort of what they call deficiencies in the various milestones of their growth, they don't come to the doctor, they don't come to the agency. So that social stigma stops them from bringing this particular category of people into life, not necessarily limelight, to the attention of the medical or other therapeutic area. So therefore, we have an early intervention center wherein we encourage our parents through our socialization, through our education and all, to bring their own kids who are likely to be affected with these deficiencies to the institutions or the hospitals. And accordingly, the earlier they come inside, better for them. So we have accordingly rehabilitated, or we made them as normal, almost a normal kids. Around 86 of these people have been taken back to the normals.
So I'll come back on that point, because I think that is an area where I think we need to further discuss on that, how they are rehabilitated and brought back into the mainstream. It's a very, very interesting topic on which we'll come back. So now may I invite Subbu to share his thoughts on the topic that we have here, cost. You can pick up C.A.U.S.E. Any of the 5 letters. You can pick your letter and on that.
Sure, maybe if I could continue to talk a bit more about challenges, but probably from my vantage point, staying in corporate. I do think just at the outset, there is a lot that corporates can do, and very inspiring already to hear Arun sir and Varghese talk about all the work that's already being done. I think that represents the exception and not necessarily the norm with corporates. I think fundamentally some of the maybe 2 or 3 major challenges with corporates, and these are personal thoughts, these don't reflect the organization. I don't represent my organization in this forum. I think fundamentally it is, we feel like the tone at the top needs to be a lot firmer, a lot stronger from corporates, particularly say that this is an area that we want to invest in. We will do this as a team, and this is not just a one person's vision and one person wanting to be involved because he or she believes in it. It requires the entire team, like Mr. Arun said about wanting to be part of it. So tone at the top is extremely important, which sometimes I suspect is not always very firm. it probably differs from in some areas where some corporates could look at it as it's a check the box item. It is something that looks good for us to be able to report out to our investors, to our employees, to the rest of the stakeholders, and therefore we should spend some time there. Versus the other end of the spectrum, examples of what we've heard just now, which is we will treat this because we're part of an ecosystem and we're all part of the same ecosystem, and therefore what's our responsibility? So one is tone at the top. The second one I would say is just lack of awareness within the teams itself. So for me personally, it was a massive learning when I visited Oorjja, and thanks to Jay and his team. I was actually somewhat, in some ways, somewhat intimidated for what reasons I don't know, not sure of what I should expect from that visit. And what opened up the window in my head was to say that while we've got a community and a talent pool that's available, and different skills, not from the perspective of what we've thought previously, but different skills is as good as how I or another colleague of mine would have different skills, as compared to someone else. It's just literally different skills. That's all it is. The reality is that we should be thinking about this talent pool accessing mainstream opportunities and not try to curtail the opportunities in the name of trying to do good or be responsible. In reality, the right thing to do is to be able to have them be part of any mainstream opportunity that all of us are a part of today. So that lack of awareness and maybe even the information around what has been done, what is the capability, those are probably the two major things that I would say are probably the biggest challenges at this point. And I'm happy to pause and hear others and also talk about solutioning at a later point in the hour.
Excellent. Thank you, Subbu. Very interesting perspective. And I think probably Rahul can take it forward from there. We've also been associated with various causes, I know, some of which I know you do in a very silent manner. But this is an opportunity where your voice needs to be heard. So let's hear what you feel could be some of the five topic is challenges, adaptation, unlocking, solution, enabler. These are the five letters Jay has given us as a text for the discussion. You can pick your letter and speak.
I think I'll go with challenge, but before that, just a brief overview as what my exposure has been. Is that I studied in C.A.U.S.E school in Cochin. So we had this open school also integrated with us. So we had people with different skill sets come in at a young age with us. When it was mine, it was not that serious, but different kinds of disabilities we worked together. Then during my MBA days, we ensured that mobility disability was taken out in terms of access to all over campus. So that was one thing. And we also are part of a football ground here, and we support the blind football team. And we see them play and their heightened skill sets in a lot of things. We see them play against Kerala Blasters. This is the Indian team, and they are also blindfolded, and they beat Kerala Blasters because blind to blind they win, even though sport to sport they're way better. So I've seen them practice every day when I go there. Then I have a co-founder who has Asperger's and is high performance. I love working with her, though it is, let's say, a little difficult at times, but it's also very high performance and skill sets that that person has. So this is my exposure. In terms of hiring anyone in the organization, I have not done it, but the challenge I would say is, it's not, there are two things that I see immediately, because one is getting access to the pool for them coming up where they're employable in some level. There are a lot of jobs that we have as an organization. So as a background, we run an FMCG company, as I mentioned. So there are a lot of other jobs that are possible, including digital marketing and stuff like that, and other operational jobs also. So that is one. And second is, it cannot be a one-person decision, like Subbu was mentioning. The ecosystem has to support them, because if I take a decision as a decision maker, even downstream, I'll have to ensure that there is a lot of soft activities that happen around it, which is not necessarily easily enforceable. So these are the challenges that I see, and I will chip in later.
Thanks, Rahul. Over to you, Krishnan. Let's hear your thoughts.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, Vinod. So this is, like I was saying earlier, my first interaction with Oorjja. And mainly I'm trying to, I'll go with the unlocking part of things. My interest really here is, I am luckily in a position where we work with about 600 odd companies who are trying to hire. And what I have seen is that a lot of the focus on in any sort of diversity hiring comes either in women hiring or in the LGBT community, right? There is hardly any focus on the differently abled in any context from the hiring perspective. So what I'd love to understand more is how we can unlock this. we are in a position where we can help unlock opportunities. Like Subbu was mentioning earlier, I hear no push from companies. There's a lot of push from companies on gender diversity, but nothing else. So what I'd like to understand today is to see, how and what can we do to help us position the skill sets, the opportunities that these folks bring to the table when we speak to companies. So that is broadly what I think I'd love to learn today.
Thank you.
Krishnan, if I could interject there.
Maybe you could take it forward from here. You run an IT company as well as you are a mentor to Oorjja. If you could try and add on or possibly in some manner even try and address the issues which Krishnan has raised right now, what would your thoughts be?
Yeah, definitely. Like as I started with Oorjja probably like 2 years before, and when Jay explained to me what Oorjja is, so I was basically fully brought up by the idea or concept because see, we see a lot of organizations around us helping differently able and basically different types of people or different types of categories by some sort of activities. So most of these there are organizations which support them, educate them in all these things. But the difference that we have here at Oorjja is that what actually impressed with me is like we make these people to stand on their own foots. So we empower them so that they can get into their jobs, they can just leave as any one of us live in this way. So we have experiences, so we have graduates from Oorjja who go into different IT organizations and working with just like any other employees. So it's a matter of how we enable them. What we have learned for the last few years is that so it's a matter of just getting these people and then educating them. So there's a challenge. The challenge is that when these guys or when these children come to Oorjja, we have a problem that they are not open to some of the key things, which is primarily one is language, English language. Second is the adaptability to the computer and the systems that we use. They are not exposed to many of these systems. But the positive thing within that is like the way in which these kids adapt to these things or relate to this. So we have a common problem when we hire the normal individuals. There has to be a very big unlearning process. So that if let's say if we hire a mechanical engineer to a computer science job, then there's a big process of unlearning what they have already learned, which we actually do not do. So we don't have that. We get a plain screen or plain sheet where we can start to teach these guys, and surprisingly, when compared to the other people, the regular people, these guys have an amazing capacity to capture, learn, and all, because their distraction is very limited. So normal people get distracted to all the noises and all those things. They get too much distractions. These people are very less distracted, and as we all know, these guys have an extra some skills or capacities additional to all of us. So people who have that additional skills in terms of analytics or in terms of logical thinking or in terms of UI, so they quickly get into it and excel. So the classic example is that all the graphics and designs that we see here or that we prepare for this celebration over here are done by the students of Oorjja. So we don't get any professional designers over here. So we don't get anything from outside. All these designs, all these arts and everything are created by differently able people. So it's a classic example of how they can grow very quickly. So the speed in which they get or adapt to things or learn things is absolutely great. So if we hire a graduate to our organization, it takes us minimum 6 months to get them to the billing cycle. So that's the typical cycle in most of the IT organizations that we face. And the same way, if we get a candidate to Oorjja, the first 3 months are relatively very slow because they have to understand and learn the communication languages and basics of all these. So once they get into that level, I think after the first phase, which is of 3 months, then the next 3 months or the next 6 months,
they grow and learn in a speed which we cannot compare. So that is the advantage that we see them. And to the corporates, what we have to say is like, it is just a matter of we trying and experiencing them. The corporates who wish to engage with these differently able people have to come or connect with Oorjja and experience the quality of the stuff that these people can do. It's just a matter of like we taste the finest honey and we start. If we want to taste it, then we love it. It's a matter of that we get into it, and if you taste it, I think it's definitely that the corporate will love it. There are different reasons for why people or organizations love it, because these guys are basically not exposed to too many other things. So these guys are nice, gentle guys, innocent guys, loyal guys, and there is a definite reason that for big organizations or for any organization, especially in the IT organization sector, attrition is going to be very less. That's one of the biggest challenge every IT organization is facing right now. So if there's a small hurdle to get them on board and running, but once we get them to the team, so the basic challenges that IT organizations or big organizations are facing right now, we have solutions.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Lovegin. I think I'll take that forward as we progress in this discussion, and we'll start the second round here, probably with a little more focus on the solutions part of it, because I think we may have time only for another quick one more round where all of us get to speak for another maybe 3-4 minutes each. So from a solution perspective, we have almost all of you here are leading your own institutions, and you also have access to several other clients where you could put in a good word and enhance the employability, which Lovegin spoke about. So I'll again start with Arun sir first. And what would you see as solutions or some advice also you can add as you speak as to where the differently abled, and particularly from the Oorjja perspective, what needs to be done?
Definitely. If I could start, I'll start with a challenge and then a solution for the challenge. The challenge I would say is finding the right job for the people, right? It cannot be we cannot expect the people to serve any job. Over a period of time, maybe they can, but initially it is important to find the right job for the people. Say for example, I've been told that supporting a tech support based a team is a good job, which the team can adopt to. So if you take that as the team, how can you create the solutions around that? Say, for example, if you create a script for 100 situations, text-based support situations, and educate the people on those 100 situations, I think that is a solution. That is a good solution. They'll become experts in that area. They'll, over a period of time, they'll hone up that skill. Then they can move on to other areas. Another simple thing would be, assuming that that's a job, we can provide a support team on demand for helping them. It's a slight, maybe 10% additional cost, but that support team will be a big morale booster for the regular team. And yeah, I got a few thoughts on unlocking the potential, but I'll stop here on the solutions.
No, sir, you can continue on unlocking the potential also, sir. I'm not very sure if we'll be able to come back, because at 4 o'clock is the time we will
I'll keep it short. So unlocking the potential, I've been doing that quite a bit for the normal stream of people. The major challenge which I've seen is there is no effort in the regular HR stream, or there is no process to understand the potential of the people. So if you look at the word ambition, many of the people do not know what their ambition is. Many of the people, there is no triggering to understand what is the ambition is. Not even a simple question, what is that you want to achieve in the next 10 years? That's not there. When you hire, there is a question. Hey, tell me what you want to do for the next 10 years. Paint the picture. And everyone do a great job in getting hired. But after that, there's no systematic process of following through on that ambition. So I must say that understanding the ambition and helping differently enabled or enabled people to achieve that ambition is a big ticket, big item.
Right, so now you probably, UST is definitely Kerala's pride, and probably I'm not too sure how many employees are there in UST now, maybe 50,000 or probably more across the globe. And what would you, if you take a call that, okay, I want to send a message down in my organization that while hiring, we must keep an extra eye on differently able. What would be the advice which you would give to the HR head of your organization?
Yeah, the advice would be, number one, that kind of diversity is important not only for UST but for our clients. Our clients prefer that. We are a very client-driven, client-centric company. So the moment it is the attention is diverted to the clients, we will listen. So that will be the first thing to hire people with different abilities are especially important for our clients, and our clients will easily agree to this. So that's the first message, maybe first and only message.
Thank you, sir. Very well said. I will move back to MD Varghese. He was in the midst of sharing certain experiences regarding rehabilitating many of the intellectually disabled, as he would call it, youngsters. So let's request you to continue where I stopped you.
Yeah. Since this happens to be a union of, I think, more of corporates than the social therapists and all, I thought of speaking about the enablers point of view and enabling point of view from the perspective of the corporates. Now, given that these other center where I am coming from, I can confine my experience to that only. We have the total ecosystem for a ideal training center for this different category of people, particularly autistic as well as intellectually disabled category of people. In that, we have recently started a special vocational training center, wherein we have picked up students above 18 years of age from our main center, because we can't keep these students above 18 years of age into a main center and school center. They have to be taken out. So we have found, we have been given a particular place in Ernakulam itself to train these people in the different trades, depending on or suitable to the talents and capabilities of each individuals. So we have a screening committee for that one to find out in which talent that he is good at. So accordingly, we devise this various training programs. Sometimes it is all NCVT recognized or skill sector people are recognized, and even we have this NIOS, like National Institute of Open Schooling, recognized courses. So we have devised various such courses, and we have just started that particular center this year. Okay? And also important to that, in fact, we have started technology sort of intervention with the support of TCS, because Mr. Dinesh Thambi, the TCS head of Kerala, is also one of our trustees. So with his kind support and other things, we have started a technology-driven training center for this different category of people with an interest. I mean, probably the same thing what Oorjja is also into. So we intend to supply maximum kind of people of this category to the industry after having trained them in the particular field to the extent possible. So that is one area of enabling situation that the corporates can look forward to. And the second area is also that we have among the acute, what we call differently able category of people, we have this AI supported as well as the virtual reality supported interventions going on very effectively, and they pick up very fast, especially the virtual reality sort of interventions as well as the AI supported interventions. We are to that also. So technologically, we are not at par with the current tendency of current trend of technology development, but we are picking up or we are catching up the tendencies thanks to the corporate supports of many organizations around here through their CSR, of course, avenue. And we have been supported by these corporates through CSR as well as the engineer supply also. So that is one area of enabling what we call environment that we can provide to you so that you can pick up the required number of people or identify people to the industry. Because I speak this one because you are all doyens of the industry of various corporates and also I thought it could be a right opportunity for me to sell my people to showcase my own kids for your betterment projects.
Excellent. I think thought is very well appreciated. And I also had the opportunity to see this TCS AI model, which is functioning so wonderfully well. And in fact, in 2-3 other centers also they've set it up, and very, very interesting to see PlayStation kind of games where the kids are, very, very nice. Somebody, the kid in the screen is plucking an apple, and then the kid who's watching it here is trying and doing the same slow dance steps, etc. Just like any other regular PlayStation game in a slow mode, how the kids are adapting. I saw on day one where the kids could not figure out what it was, and few days later I saw the difference. Maybe 10 days later, they were fully in sync with what was happening on screen. It's a beautiful model, and Adarsh is a great example of how they really introduced technology into this whole process. And let's hear from Subbu on your thoughts on it.
So we speak about solutions a bit, and I probably have a couple of questions that I'd love to hear some advice and guidance from the group. In terms of solutions, just at a very high level, considering how the talent market is incredibly crunched at this point, and if I just looked at this from the Big Four IT-enabled services group, EY, our global delivery service center is about 60,000 people. If I just look at the Big Four and similar sort of positions, I think we're easily about trending towards going to 250, 300,000 headcount, type of a market. And even if we looked at 1% for a moment, not even being overtly optimistic, but even if we said 1% is what we would love to be able to have some, the inclusion here, that's still a very significant number for us. And there's a lot of work to be done to get to that point. And the beauty of this whole thing is in this managed services environment, given that we're standardizing a lot of our processes, we're centralizing it, there's a lot of tech-enabled functions. If at all there was a time for us to be able to make that push, I think it is now, right? I mean, given that there's more standardization, it's I would think a lot more easier or less difficult to onboard, individuals from different parts of the spectrum. There is a certain degree of repetition in terms of being able to gain that expertise for that matter. So any of the professional services functions, whether it's finance, tax, accounting, or the legal managed services side, I think there is a lot of potential there for us to be able to onboard more individuals there. Which means back to the question that Krishnan had raised earlier. So on one hand, while we say one of the skill sets, let's say data analytics / accounting, if we were to start, maybe this is some piece of advice for Oorjja as well as for us to do internally, which is if we were to start mapping jobs to the skill set for that matter, versus going free flow saying, if it's data analytics, where else could we potentially just fit in, and instead saying, start looking at job descriptions and saying what that would mean. Maybe there are more opportunities in the fold there. So that's some work we're already doing internally at this point, and we truly hope to be able to collaborate a bit more, with the institution in days to come. The two questions I have are, first is just given the model has become more hybrid in nature, the whole work model at this point, and I'm sure you'll appreciate that it does become a little less easier, to be able to train anyone, irrespective of what their levels, their abilities are, virtually as compared to, in some ways, in person. And particularly in this case, I'm just curious, and if Mr. Arun can help, or Lovegin, if you can comment. I'm just curious how the virtual model has either benefited or has it made it harder one way or the other? And if you have any guidance on how we could use that to enable this whole transition, number one. The second question is, this whole ecosystem means you've got people who genuinely have to invest time and make sure that there's a personal relationship that is obviously established. What happens when, let's say, that team leader or those few absolutely passionate people, let's say, leave the organization, the folks who are truly in charge of onboarding everyone else? How do we then sustain all of these, the momentum we've built or the benefits? I'm just curious what the experiences have been. If there's no time, that's fine, but these are the two questions that I had.
So if I could start on that. our experience has been that virtual model is quite effective for in this context of differently able people, especially people with speaking or hearing disabilities. So since you are getting close attention on video conference, you can actually have individual attention rather than a group attention. So that will help the team. That is if you look at, there is a plus for everything, right? There is a plus and minus for everything. There is a huge plus if you actually look at the individual attention you can provide to the people. Then you can augment that with a lot of technologies like you can actually record the transcript and play back to the people for them to read. So there are on any topic there are advantages and disadvantages. On the virtual training topic, there are more advantages than disadvantages, what I would submit.
So I think probably Lovegin, you can also add your 2 bits on that. And
Yeah, I will quickly add a couple of things on that. So firstly, the virtual mode, I feel even for Oorjja, the training system that we have had over here for the students here, I think that has actually transformed the way in which we did trainings at Oorjja. Earlier it was completely offline, and as COVID came in, we were basically unexpectedly, without any preparation, we were forced to go online. But eventually it has turned out to be very positive, successful, and the students were, there was a problem of them getting familiarized with Zoom and all those things. Once that phase has been completed, they simply go into the system, they learn very quickly compared to the offline model, because it gives them an opportunity to get or work with the system more and more. Because here at Oorjja, we train people more with skills which is related to computer, and these people get more opportunity to sit closer to the computer, and just like Arun said, they got an opportunity to record the conversations, or they basically, we typically do texting or chatting using Slack or Microsoft, whatever it is. So it gives them more avenues or opportunities to interact with people in a much efficient way, and they can easily understand the lip syncing using the recording, so they can basically replay the system. So it has been so effective and wonderful in getting that training conduct, basically how they conduct the training. And it is the same way we do have Indian mentors working with the students here at Oorjja. So they also conducted the exchange of information using the same Slack or Microsoft Teams, and the output were so awesome. So basically, we never expect that this comes from this differently able people, because the outputs were really good. And I also want to address one more point is when we hire people from Oorjja or from any of this organization, my humble request is that we don't really look at this is a part of our C.A.U.S.E activity, or this is a part of an initiative that we drive for the differently able. My humble request is that we don't hire anyone from Oorjja or any similar organization just because of the fact that they are disabled. You hire them if they are capable enough, if they can do your regular job just like any other engineers in your organization can do. Otherwise, you don't do that, because what we are trying to do is we position our students into the same posture as any other individual is. So we are very confident that it's just a matter of breaking the ice once they get there. So we need to the problem, they need to just be with the kids or students, the hiring managers, the people who hire them or mentor them, needs to be with them to understand. Basically, when we get to work with these guys, or the first few days or first weeks, it will be difficult for us to understand how we communicate. Once that is, we just go through that, it's very easy. The same way that we have to understand them, there's some processes has to be made. And to the other question, Subbu has asked, what if the current manager or the team lead changes? From the experiences of a couple of the corporates working with Oorjja, what we have learned is it has actually helped those organizations to define better processes and systems, so that these people, whenever we hire these people, they have to build better processes. They have to start everything documented. So this has eventually helped organizations to improve their own internal processes to a certain extent. So once these processes are in place, changing the managers will not affect them greatly. There will be a slight impact, but we will have to get people whoever comes into replacement, we will have some bit of empathy, but otherwise it won't have that great impact since we have that system in place. So that is these are my
That's a very interesting thought. So I think the fact that the systems and processes which otherwise probably run by a certain pattern, or sometimes in many organizations we see that things just happen method and madness kind of chaos. Instead, when differently able people come into the system, in their documentation and systems get improved, which will help in the long run. I think that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Let's hear what Krishnan has to add to this.
So I want to give a little background about how we operate that ties into this. So we work with a lot of startups in Bangalore, like the Zomatos, Vedantus, all these folks. And one problem they have is they all hire only from the IITs. Even if you're a really good candidate, you're a very capable technologist, your resume won't go through the door if you're not from an IIT or an NIT. So what we set out to do is to break that. And the way we break that is by saying, don't look at the past, look at their potential. Okay. And when we say look at their potential, we also build the product and the tools for people to showcase their skills. Like if you're an interior designer, right? What do? You're not going to show your resume to somebody. You're going to show their past work to somebody. So similarly at Geektrust, what we do is we allow software developers to showcase their code, showcase their skills, and unlock opportunities. So I'm thinking there's a parallel here to what Lovegin is saying. If we want clients and corporates to open their doors, we have to show that skill. Otherwise, it's not a sustainable thing. And I think I'll probably need to figure out how we do this, but we can work in a manner where we can help people from Oorjja showcase their capability in tangible terms. And when we provide our clients with such candidates, we're able to say, hey, this is the resume and this is their skills. The key problem with recruitment or corporate is one is just opening the door to give them an opportunity. Once they get that opportunity, people crack it. So I think something that we should really see is how do we get companies to open the door? And I think translating this potential into tangible skills that can be showcased is something that, we should probably see how we can work with.
And what would you suggest, Krishnan, in terms of, let us say there are assuming talented people in various various spheres of activity. How would you suggest that they showcase this talent in terms of creating some kind of a portfolio book of what they do, or creating in, let's say, your own organization, what would you do?
So I'll tell you what we do. I don't know enough to see how we can tie it to the Oorjja students, but what we do is, suppose you are from there was a guy who was a coffee salesman in Kothas Coffee in Karnataka, Mysore somewhere. He wanted to be a software developer. Okay. There's not one company in India that will take his profile forward. He wants to be a developer. He's a coffee salesman today. So what Geektrust does is we have projects that people like him can come and solve. So when he solved one of our projects, we sent his profile to an AI company, and more than the resume, we sent his project saying this is his work. You look at the work. They looked at his work. When I say work in the software world, it is you're looking at somebody's coding skills. You can actually see what they have written. So this company looked at what he had done and said, I want to talk to this guy. At least let me talk. He cleared the interview. Now he's working at an AI startup. So what I mean by that is you need to create tangible things. If it is a coder, you can create code. If you're a UI or UX designer, you can create designs that you can show and ask people to look at the output that you have than the past, or what your resume looks like. So I think there are parallels. We'll have to figure out what exactly we need to do, but we need to create those things and put it in front of Arun's clients and say, do you want to hire this person who wrote this code, or who created this UI?
Well said.
Thank you. And Rahul, over to you. Both, having, this could probably be the last that we could, have before a quick sum up. Your thoughts on what would you be looking at if you were to hire somebody from the facility of the space into your own organization, Heael or any of the other businesses you promote? And two, how would you see the importance of sports into integrating? You've been involved in the football improvement activity of the blind, and we know that there is a very interesting football match coming up where the Oorjja youngsters are also involved in that. What would you see as the involvement, the whole process of sports coming into this whole sphere and them excelling in that?
So I think from sports, I'll take sports first. Sports is a great leveler, and it also the way the challenge, visually challenged kids were talking among themselves were just like any teenagers talking. So there's nothing different in how many of them think. I'm sure disability changes, but in this particular case, it is very interesting to see that, and the whole teamwork that they come up with is very interesting. And I think different sports for different kind of disabilities, I'm sure, but can definitely be some kind of a inspiration in some sense. And from hiring point of view, I think end of the day, companies are very selfish. Managers and owners are going to be selfish. They want output to be not compromised while doing something that is good. Like as Krishnan had mentioned earlier about women and LGBT and all that. So I had some thoughts on that. It is like, optics matter a lot. And if there is a public opinion that says that this particular set of communities have to be taken care of, then companies act. Like how TRP's ratings lead to how news is kind of pushed to you. Similarly, optics is something that you should look at from that point of view. And second is, like one of my friends keeps saying, you need to see somebody from your community succeed to have a role model for others, also to have an inspiration to kind of do this. And from a corporate point of view, yes, you could go across the board and do it. But I think like for the West to very much look at trying to support these companies which hire these people. So having somebody who's a champion, like a corporate, like a mid-sized corporate is a champion and has significant number of people from this particular sector that whoever can take for their relevant scope can possibly take that leap of faith, take that risk. Yes, said that skill set should be the same, but it is not the same, right? There is some amount of extra effort that has to be put in, and people should be mindful of that and willing to take that effort, because society and the market should probably reward you for doing that. That's my.
And if you were to hire somebody in your own organization per se, what would be the, assuming this is you have to interview somebody, what would you be looking at?
I would be looking at base case to start with, ensuring that the minimal requirement for the job can be met. And there would definitely be, like, for example, my partner she's got Asperger's, there will be definitely some heightened skills that they have. And is that something that we can use to our advantage in terms of being able to do this? There are certain skills that can be used. If that is possible, yes. But as a business owner, I would expect things to be at least at par. Right? Because functioning of the business smoothly is also important. I'm a little bit of a higher view because I'm not deeply involved like most of you here. So I'm just telling you my 2 cents.
Excellent. I think and I think that's we've had a very, very candid discussion over the last 1 hour. So you'd like to add something?
Yeah, I would probably add one final note to this there now. See, as Rahul rightly said, organizations, corporates need people with a basic set of talents. But for that, what we need to do is organizations need to start engaging with these students. You would probably won't have a fantastic interview experience with these guys because of certain disabilities they have. But you need to engage with these guys, probably get these guys and engage with these guys for a few days or a couple of weeks probably. Then you will understand the capacity in them. Then you will feel how better these guys are in getting things done. So that is, I would feel that is the way organizations probably would need to move on. It is you would probably won't get any of these guys or any of these guys in the right jobs if you do a regular interview session with these guys. Experience them and you will love them. That's my thought.
I think that's that's probably a great way to close the discussion, that we need to be more open, we need to be more patient, we need to allow them to perform, give them the space, so that probably they may also be a little more nervous and tense to start with. They may not have the same kind of communication skills which the IITs and IIMs, which Krishnan spoke about, so may not be very impressive at the interview stage, but as they move forward and once we give them an opportunity through the inclusivity programs which we can all run in our own organizations or in our client organizations, then that could be a great place to start. And let me, on behalf of Oorjja, thank all of you, and on behalf of all of us, thank Jay for ensuring that all of us are here in this platform, sharing some really interesting thoughts. And this is only the beginning of a discussion, as I said. There is a long way to go, and with Jay's leadership, I'm sure he can bring us all together. Hopefully, in a physical space, we can all meet the next time and see how we can all collectively ensure that Oorjja also scales up to the next level. So, thank you very much, Jay. Yeah, I think I'll hand the session over to Jay with exactly a minute left. So, over to you, Jay.
Before we leave, let me make use of this opportunity. Please allow me to make this opportunity to make a small request on behalf of my kids in my center. As I told you, we have some vocational training center where we teach them, we train them in confectionery trade. And in that we have a beautifully functioning, most modern bakery at our vocational training center, where we make a delicious, super premium plum plates for the season now. So we request you, all the industry giants of the area, to support them by buying these many cakes from these people. It will be a sort of triple benefit or double benefit what people offer. What is that? You can have a cake and eat two. You can eat that. And secondly, you are supporting this segment of people indirectly or even directly, sir, because the proceeds, the entire proceeds go back to them. We don't take a single pie out of this particular revenue, generate out of this particular confection unit. And they have, in fact, I tell you one more thing. They have started a cafeteria called Melting Hearts Cafeteria. Is again a most modern mini cafeteria wherein all these products, these pastries, premium cakes, cookies, and chapatis, buns, everything is being sold. That cafeteria is run by this differently able, like the Starbucks they are doing. They are running the show, and people do come and eat all those items in that particular beautiful cafeteria. So do visit this particular cafeteria and this training center. And before that, please make your orders to Adarsh Center of Empowerment with a large number of plum cakes. It costs you a not big amount,
that's
but
the best way to wrap up a session in with Christmas season coming up.
yeah.
Right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you, gentlemen. I don't know how to thank yourself enough. Wonderful time. I was listening from the other side on my headphone. I was listening to each and every word. Lot of things. Varghese sir, today's Oorjja anniversary cake we took from Melting Hearts.
Very
Beautiful cake. It was a brilliant cake. I'm a big fan of Melting Hearts. Not just that, on our 30th. I mean, some of you are coming on the 30th October for our anniversary event. There are some 500 guests coming on that day. All food packets are ordered from Melting Hearts only.
Oh, great.
Okay. So we continue to support each other. Now with that, we're handing over certain mementos here. I mean, Vivek will be doing the honors. But before that, let me just summarize like what Varghese said. Each of you will be getting there to your address. This is a keychain designed by the Oorjja designers, manufactured at our factory at Faction. Some of you know the Faction factory where not differently able people are the employees over there. Okay. This is a painting memento. Paintings are done by our people at Oorjja. Again, done at our factory over there. This again, I'm sure this will be your first calendar for 2023, and I'm sure none of you would have got a 2023 calendar. This also will reach you. Again, the entire design, execution, everything done by Oorjja trainees. And all products are done. And we have got a space there behind Lovegin. You can see that entire products displayed over there are designed by the Oorjja trainees. Manufactured at our Faction counter. Like the way Varghese was marketing, I am also marketing Oorjja's gift companies. Any of your gift needs, please look at Oorjja and Faction. When you see this product, you can figure out what you get from outside and this one. Is there any difference in the quality? All being equal, why not the differently able people? With that, Vivek, over to you. Over to you. This is for Arun. You could show to the camera wherever the camera is there. Yeah. Arun, this will reach you by 12. Then you go to the near to the.
I'll just read this out. It says 5th anniversary Oorjja. an ecosystem for empowering differently abled persons, Arun Narayanan. So it's
Thank you
very
very
nice.
much.
Our names imprinted on it. Thank you so much, Jay.
And all these things were done in 3 days flat. Some 90 mementos were done in 3 days flat because we had to wait till the last minute to get the name confirmation. In 3 days, everything got completed. And this is for Subbu.
Yes. Subbu, this one goes with your name. So, thank you.
And Krishna, this is for you.
Lovely. Each of the paintings are also unique and Krishnan, that's yours.
Like what Varghese was saying, each and every payment goes to the painters, the designers, everybody gets paid off this. This is not an unpaid job. They get paid for, depending on the quality of the painting. So they start, realizing the potential of the work.
Lovely.
Okay.
But I'll get the new one.
Good. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
For internal people, not required. But still,
Thank you so much.
by the way, I forgot to do one more marketing before I hand it over to Vivek. Did you see Lovegin's name card? You can see the Lovegin's name card and my name card. Okay. This is written Oorjja and my name is written there. Again, designed by us and then manufactured at our factory. Any of you requiring name cards, please place the order with us and then we'll be more than happy to customize them. I'm sure this looks not very bad, I'm sure.
It looks really good.
And one person I should really thank, a friend more than anything else. 3 sharply started and 4 sharply completed. Without a great moderator like you, experienced person like you.
With a tough taskmaster, I think thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you very much. And we are winding up on time. Only thing we are not inviting you is for the next room where we have the refreshments kept. We thought of couriering it across you. Seriously, we were thinking about doing a Swiggy order to your table. We're not sure where you will be because you didn't want to probably disclose. Arun kept telling me that Jay sent the invite in WhatsApp, sent the invite in Outlook sometimes, so then I was confused whether he was at home or at office. So otherwise, we are planning to have a Swiggy order as a surprise in your room as a refreshment like when you enjoy our tea and cake.
Jay, I for one need to earn my refreshments, so I would hold on to that packet. I'm sure Mr. Arun deserves it a lot more. So.
Lovely.
We will have an extra paramuri here for you.
It's a very healthy one today here for a change.
Jay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you,
same here.
everyone.
Thank you.
Meeting on. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
congratulations again, Jay. God bless. Take care.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Arun. And thank you, sir, and Rahul and Vivek. Thank you. Nice.
Okay. Bye.
We have our video.
Picture with the-
Sorry.